Hello everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another cross-stitching video. In this video, I am going to be giving an update on my whipping down process, which if you are new, WIP stands for work in progress. And it was last year in September, I decided that I had too many projects going on and I wanted to get the numbers down. And I knew then that it was going to be a very long process because a lot of my projects are large full coverage projects. So I have a lot of projects that are over 100,000 stitches and a lot of them are kind of barely started. Like I have quite a few projects that were only in like the 5-10% completed range. So I knew this was going to be like a big undertaking to whip down. So I'm going to start off by just giving you like the basic numbers. So last year when I started this process, I had 34 WIPs. I have finished 3 projects, which those projects are Strawberry Farm, which is by Flossie Fox Shop on Etsy. I finished Kita, which is by Pinky the Pink or makeitpink.net. And I had finished Little Gamer, which is from Gecko Rouge. And the artwork is by Medusa Dollmaker, and it's currently not available from Gecko Rouge, but you can find it on the Medusa Dollmaker website. And that was my most recent finish. So Kita and Strawberry Farm were finished in 2024 at the end of the year. Little Gamer is my only finish so far in 2025. So I had 3 finishes. I quit 2 projects. So I quit Rainbow Basin, which was by Tilton Crafts, and I had also quit Game of Thrones, which was also by Tilton Crafts. And I quit those just because Rainbow Basin was only at like 1% or something because I had restarted it. And so it wasn't very far and I just felt like I wouldn't miss it that much. And then Game of Thrones, like I liked it, but I don't love stitching on dark colors, and I also feel like the faces were turning out a lot darker than I would have liked. Like they were darker, and also a lot of things when they're converted into cross stitch kind of tend to be warmer toned, so they're more like orangey than the artwork. So those were 2 that I had quit, and in that time period, I only had 1 new start. So last year when I was setting like my little like rules, one of the rules was that to have a new start, I need to finish 2 things. So last year I had finished Strawberry Farm and Kita, which meant that I could have 1 new start. And so I ended up starting the Hade 2025 Stitch Along in the very end of December because it came out early. So it was supposed to come out January 1st and it came out, I think it was like the weekend before the first of the year. So that has been my only start, and that puts me down to having 30 projects. Yes, so I had like 3 finishes, 2 quits, so that was 34 minus 5, and that's 29. And then I had 1 new start. So I'm at 30 WIPs, which I think is decent, especially because like I said, a lot of my things are pretty big. If I am being honest, there's probably a couple other charts in here that I could potentially quit, but I am not going to do that yet. Maybe later I will quit more things. But what I'm going to talk about now is going into my next year of whipping down. What are my like plans or goals? So I would like to have for sure 3 more finishes. I have a paper that I'm looking at, and the finishes that I would like to have in the next year is one that is probably obvious, which is right here, is Autumn Harmony by Maxine Gadd. I am really trying to get this finished by the end of 2025, so by the end of this year. And so that would be a really big finish for me, which would get a big chunk knocked off of, a big whip out of the way. Another one that I would like to finish is the Hade 2024 Stitch Along, which I'm currently at 57% complete on this, and so this would be really nice to get done. This is the chart Merry Mushroom Village Picnic number 3 by Amy Stewart, and yeah, I just want this done. It's a smaller chart, like I think the bottom of it only goes down to like here, so getting this done would also be a nice thing to have as another full coverage knocked off the list. And then the last one is a smaller one. I don't have that many small projects, so there's not a ton of small projects for me to be like easily get a finish, and the thread is stuck in the zipper. This is Northern Lights by Climbing Goats Designs. This chart, I think I only have like 5,000 stitches left, so this would hopefully be an easy-ish one to get finished in the next year. So my plans for the next year would be to try and get 3 more things finished and just not start anything that's like a huge chart, because the other thing too is that I have categories for sizes. So for example, to have a new start that's over 100,000 stitches, I have to finish 2 charts that are over 100,000 stitches. So Autumn Harmony will be one that's over 100,000 stitches, but then I would have to finish something else that is also large, and I'm not close to finishing anything else that is that large currently. So once I finish Autumn Harmony, at that point, I might pick out another larger chart to focus on. But one thing that it's also kind of making me think is that it for sure will not be the chart Mariner, which is also by Maxine Gadd. And it's kind of a similar style in that it's like Maxine Gadd has a lot of artwork that's just like girl faces and like lower chest. And once I finish Autumn Harmony, I think I'm going to be kind of like Maxine Gadded out, and will probably take a break from a Maxine Gadd chart for a while. And so those are my plans going into next year. In terms of starting new things, I am trying really hard. I try not to even really look at charts anymore. I used to spend a lot of time looking at new releases and going on to like the different websites like Charting Creations and just looking at charts. And I try and just avoid that now because I have so much that I already have started, and also I have a lot of things that I have purchased and that I haven't started yet because I don't have the time to stitch on everything that I've already bought. So I've really just been trying to not even focus on looking at like the new things coming out, even though there is always a lot of stuff coming out in like the cross stitch world. But I just try and like just look at what I have, focusing on enjoying and loving the things that I have, which has been going pretty good. Like I have really started to realize this past year like what I enjoy stitching on. So I enjoy things with a lot of color. I also enjoy things with a lot of little details. Like I don't really love charts that have a ton of just like a background color that would need to be stitched. I really enjoy things like Cozy Winter Book Nook, which I show a lot on here I feel like now, where it has a ton of details all over the place and it's like super colorful. I actually just think that I really like RoseCon artwork in general because there's also some other pieces from RoseCon, who is on Pain Free Crafts website right now. And I love so many of her charts because they're colorful and then they have just details everywhere. Like there's a chart I have from RoseCon that is Dragon Race Into the Night, and that's the one thing where I'm like eventually I do want to get that one started, but I need to like get some finishes going before I even think about starting it. I was almost thinking about like, what if I just trade like save up a bunch of finishes, like 4 finishes, and then just go for that one, like 4 finishes for Dragon Race Into the Night. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, so whipping down has been going good so far. I have really been avoiding all the new starts, and I've also just been realizing too that like you can like a chart and then just find other people who are stitching it and then just enjoy it through them, you know? So like all like the Amy Stewart bookshelves, like there's a lot of people on Flosstube, like Crafty Emily is stitching one of the bookshelf charts, and so it's like I just enjoy watching it come together through her because I realistically cannot stitch on everything that I like. And so it's really just realizing like I love a lot of things and I have to realize that I can't always have all of them, you know? It's not realistic to be able to stitch on them all, have the space for them all, and all of that. That is all for this video though. I thought I would just do like a quick update so you can see where I'm at, how it's going. It's still going to be a very long process. It will probably take me a really long time to get down to where I would like to realistically be, which I think is probably somewhere around like 20-ish WIPs, because I do want to be able to still have a variety of designers' charts going at a time. And so I know that I can't go down too low because I do like, you know, there's a lot of full coverage designers out there now. But yeah, so it's gonna take a while, but I'm still doing it. I am still working on it and I have not forgotten it. One thing too is I try not to focus on it too heavy because I did a year of no starts one year, which I only made it to like August. So I started in January and then in August I failed because I started a tiny modernist Christmas stitch along, I think. And I was focusing so heavily like in update videos being like, yeah, I haven't started anything new, and then just like, you know, it was like a big focus, kind of like when you go onto a diet and it's like you make it a focus of like everything has to be diet, 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 but then it doesn't last because it's unrealistic. So I've been really trying to kind of make this like a lifestyle change with the cross stitch and not have it be like a pain and suffering, because you know, like, okay, if you go on a diet, a lot of times it's like, oh, suffering, you know, like you must starve yourself. Okay, you shouldn't starve yourself, but that's like a lot of people take like an extreme approach to it that's not maintainable. And so for this, I've really just been trying to take like a maintainable approach and just be like, I'm not depriving myself of anything because I still have my cross stitch. I still have a lot of things to work on, and it's just been kind of like reshifting in my head from new start, new start, new start to, you know, you loved all these things, stitch on them and move around the charts. So I have been doing that a lot. Is if I get bored somewhere in a chart, I'll just stitch somewhere else on it because there's a different area with different things and I haven't stitched that before. So that's almost like a new start in a new area. So yeah, that's been one thing that I've been trying to do though, is like I said, just make it more of a lifestyle change. It's not a like crash diet. It is a change in the way that I am, you know, consuming things so I don't eventually revert back to having a ton of WIPs because I can't do that anymore. That is all for this video. I will be back hopefully soon with a regular cross-stitching update video. Thank you for anyone who watches, likes, comments, and subscribes, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!